Oh boy, you guys know when I read the leftist cope, it is pretty bad. I don't know if it's because it's closer to midterms and these people are so committed to, continuously tightening the noose they've fashioned around their own necks, but this one, holy shit. There is a scale of madness to this delusion. You've got legacy media fake news, yeah. Then you've got, say, cackles. Then you've got diverse female character over there at the White House. And then you've got something above this that I've rarely seen, if ever, before. What I'm going to read is that level. This is so bad, I don't think I can even read this without violating YouTube's TOS. Virtually nothing in this is true. What is true is a half-truth, a lie by omission. This man was in charge of a climate change task force which should tell you everything you need to know about this insane maniac. Despite good news for Joe Biden lately, wonder what the hell you read, many Democrats continue to be deeply worried about his chances of re-election. Maybe that's because he sucks. He has no enthusiasm because he's old as shit and he's dementia-riddled. His policies are terrible and everyone around him is amazingly even more incompetent and stupider than he is. These concerns are understandable given that Biden, already the oldest president in history, will be 81 years old in November 2024. And while his approval ratings are currently the highest in more than a year, holy fuck, they are still very low by historical standards, about 43 or 44% depending on the poll. It's lower than that if you go by the RCP aggregate. Yet the history of an incumbent president voluntarily giving up the White House or being subjected to a primary challenge is replete with political disaster. And yet he is the best you got. What does that say about you? New polls show Biden is the Democrat most likely to beat Donald Trump and any other Republican. I want you guys to really let that sink in. Of all the Democrats in the entire United States, the oldest dude in the White House ever, right? Who's literally done nothing right since he got who's presided over the fastest destruction of approval ever, has a history of being this utterly corrupt, incompetent, sociopathic liar, literally cannot talk of his own free will or without the aid of a teleprompter or notes, and he is still the top pick to beat Trump. How in fuck's name is it? That is absolutely astonishing. Stuart Biden, with all the benefits of incumbency, is still the right candidate to face down Trump and Trumpism. No, he isn't. And for that reason alone, Democrats should support him. Yeah, the problem is the people vote against things, not for. And with Obama, things were shit. And that's how you got Trump. With Biden, things are much, much worse, and Trump also has the incumbent advantage and a significantly better country by literally every single objective metric. Even during a normal political era, not supporting a sitting president is a suicidal move for the party in power. And these are anything but normal times. No, it's not very often you have a country's oldest president being riddled with dementia and piss, shaking his authoritarian stick like an old grandpa on the porch telling MAGA folk to get off his lawn. America needs Biden's steady hand to deal with a string of crises, deep domestic political divisions driven by Trump and an increasingly authoritarian Republican Party. There's your sugar bump. A precarious moment for the US and global economy, which he created and continues to fuel with unendingly insane spending. Russia's war on Ukraine, the growing climate crisis, which is complete bollocks, and the rise of authoritarian states, again, more sugar bumps, and an aggressive China that he is uniquely qualified to solve. His notable progress in recent weeks on many of these issues is fresh proof. Are you out of your fucking mind? What steady hand? He can't even read a fucking teleprompter with a steady head. Never mind steer the country with a steady hand. The political division was caused by the press, and Biden has continued to stoke it. The damn V for Vendetta speech last week was so divisive, not even legacy media outlets were broadcasting the damn thing, which should tell you they knew what the hell he was going to say beforehand, and even then they bailed on that. Far as the foreign policy argument goes, are you shitting me? Former Secretary of Defense said Biden has damn near gotten every foreign policy decision incorrect in over 40 years. Not only that, how exactly is Beijing Biden going to combat an aggressive China by drowning them in all of America's strategic oil reserve they're selling to them, are they? Fuck's sake, he's already making Russia rich by not using US manufacture to increase the global supply of oil and gas. So he not only has domestic incompetence, he has foreign policy incompetence to go with it. Biden's speech last week calling out Donald Trump's radicalization of much of the Republican Party was well received among Democrats, and our divided country needed to hear it. Moving on, the White House has clearly recognized this and has begun to take on Trumpism directly as both a midterm and re-election strategy. No, they haven't, and Terry McAuliffe tried this over a year ago against the newcomer Youngkin, who pretty sure was behind in the polling up until Election Day, and yet Youngkin whooped ass. Trump is not the threat the Dems make him out to be. They're just desperately needing a villain for their current narrative, and it's a lot harder to sell when you suck hard enough to pull an anvil through a fucking garden hose. Biden's string of legislative victories over the last 2 years, COVID and economic relief bills, a $1 trillion infrastructure bill, a U.S. Competitiveness and Investment Act, and the Climate Change and Healthcare Bill, are taken together the most important domestic investment since FDR. Okay, A, this is just fueling the inflation, which shows you have the economic prowess of a fucking dung beetle, and B, FDR was probably the most authoritarian president in U.S. history. It's no wonder these people whack off at night thinking about him. All that's missing is the Nazis. Actually, we have those in Ukraine, and the U.S. is funding them, but never mind that. His handling of inflation has been adequate. How? He's made the worst inflation crisis in 40 fucking years, especially on petrol prices, which have come down by more than $1 this summer. His stance towards China on security and trade is good policy, no it isn't, and politics. Meanwhile, over 10 million new jobs have been created in less than 2 years, no it hasn't, and unemployment is at near record lows. Yeah, because you're not looking at labor force participation rates. By any measure, he has had a decent run, even if a polarized and traumatized country won't quite give him full credit yet. Oh yeah, I made petrol prices rise but come down, even though they're still higher than when my predecessor was in office. I destroyed the energy independence and lost thousands of jobs, even as Russia is making hand over fist over the fact that my doing so has caused a worldwide surge in energy prices. I printed trillions of dollars, destroyed the economy with the worst inflation crisis in 40 years. I humiliated the military for the whole world to see and left over $20 billion worth of equipment to the very people we've tried to fight for 2 decades. I had more coup deaths under my administration than the previous one. My party kept schools closed, caused families hell, their children irreparable damage, businesses to shut down. I demonized half the country and called them a dangerous threat to democracy, even though I am arming and doubling the size of the IRS, and I fucking told the DOJ to raid my political rival's home, and I picked a retard for VP who claims the border is secure even though she's never visited the fucking thing. And millions have entered the country illegally, making it the highest to ever do so in the history of the US, but won't someone please give me credit for any of that shit? So for the Democrats to give up the White House and the huge advantages of incumbency would be folly. Recent examples of presidents leaving the White House after one term of facing a party challenge are, without exception, calamitous. LBJ's 1968 decision not to run again left the nation in chaos, arguably beginning a divide we still suffer from today, and directly resulting in a Nixon presidency and Watergate scandal that undermined American faith in government. I seem to remember even someone on CNN or MSNBC, can't remember which one, openly admitted that Kennedy nixed his election and Nixon was the actual winner. The reason LBJ only ran one term is because he was a miserable failure who left office with an abysmal 36% approval rating. The DNC actually ostracized him from the party because he was toxic for it. Jimmy Carter faced a primary challenge from Ted Kennedy and never recovered. George H.W. Bush was weakened by Pat Buchanan's challenge in 1992 and lost badly to Clinton. Meanwhile, the counterexamples of presidents running for election despite low approval rating and yet winning, often by wide margins, are numerous and highly encouraging. Harry Truman in 1948, Bill Clinton in 1996, and Barack Obama in 2012 each looked vulnerable at this stage of their time in office. Similar instances on the Republican side include Ronald Reagan in 1984 and George W. Bush in 2004. Each of these 5 presidents had low poll numbers near the midpoint of their first terms, but their party stuck by them and each won re-election and served a full second term. Yeah, here is the problem with this comparison. None of those people there were incumbents to measure how things could actually be with any practical example. They're just potentials. Trump has a proven track record, and Biden has the most abysmal record ever. Try comparing him to Jimmy Carter instead, who was a one-term disaster. For Democrats, the best scenario would probably be a one-on-one competition between Biden's record of dealing with serious problems that he actually made himself, and Trump, or an imitator, indulging in dangerous policy and political approaches that will further divide the country. Many a sugar bump. Third-party candidates, even those like Representative Liz Cheney, who some Democrats have encouraged, can be highly unpredictable and often fatal to incumbents. Prominent examples include Ross Perot in 1992 undermining the elder Bush, Josh Anderson in 1980 helping defeat Carter, and Teddy Roosevelt and the Bull Moose Party knocking William Howard Taft from office in 1912. Biden is far from perfect, but the choice is not between Biden and perfection. Actually, when you compare him to the record of Trump in office or DeSantis' job as governor in Florida, they're a lot closer to perfection than anything Biden's done. It is between a senile old moron and the God Emperor Trump and the next in line like Ron DeSantis, because that's more accurate. Biden serving his second term would also give Democrats time to sort out their next generation of leaders. I mean, they didn't do this during Obama's term, by the way. They just banked on Clinton, who Trump retired, along with Cheney's, Bush's, and McCain, so why the hell would they do that now? I mean, they literally do not have any candidates. There is right now no obviously strong candidate to challenge Biden and beat Trump, to put it mildly. Cackling side bitch Kamala Harris would have more time to prove herself and gain experience. No, her political career is over after this election. Other leading Democrats, including vote-getting governors like Roy Cooper of North Carolina, who no one's ever heard of, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, who was part of a kidnapping plot, that's her claim to stupid, and Gavin Newsom of California, who's running the state into the ground, could create national political followings. No, they won't. Democrats need this deeper bench for the future. Good luck with that. If he continues to be healthy and able to perform his duties, steward Joe Biden should run and will likely win again. Tell me, if you think he is doing a good job, why is his entire party avoiding him? It's an uncomfortable silence now, isn't it? Democrats must recognize this essential fact. Yeah, the Democrats don't do very well with objective reality, I've noticed. The truth is the country needs Biden too much right now for Democrats to do anything else. I have no words for this level of delusion. This may be the most utterly insane article I think I've ever read. And now, if you will excuse me, I'm going to go drink myself into a stupor. And that is all for today, and I will see you all next time.